Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Love that light bears. It's such a good reminder here. My brother bears the light of God, actually, the reflection of God in my mind, in the mind doesn't belong to anyone. Infinite mind, the symbol of infinite. And in this holy light circle where we focus on the light, there's just nothing of greater value than this infinite light of being and the happiness that from looking deeply with Jesus at each line in a new covenant. Really the course too, because the course lessons in the morning as well. And just really, I guess that's just an openness now to see and to have the course, what the course is pointing to, live within. Jesus says we can throw the course out. It's helpful to let it live inside. And see that it is pointing to life itself, infinite nature. And then to really look so directly, now it's given in a new covenant for those interested in ACIM, but really anyone in a non-dual path who's really looking for divinity, because it's very easy to go and to actually see that the light is here. There's so many different ways. And then there's that idea that it's not here and those denials are still there, and peace. It's like, oh, that felt so good for a while. But now it doesn't feel so good. Why? The why is because infinite light, divine being, is, the world is set up to question who we are. It's a big question mark. Who am I? And then the constant seeking through form to prove who we are, when who we are is self-evident, infinite light, that we can see that we are light. And then as this, I love it, the wheel of samsara, of suffering, just gets no longer tolerable, it seems that we start to look for something else, something other than the way that life has been before. So now we look and follow the one who knows, super consciousness, Christ, the Christ mind, the one within who knows. So we're continuing chapter 20, starting with the light of divine being. The answer, the self-evident answer to the question, what am I? I am not a body, I am free. In truth, if we really look, does the divine light know what a body is? We don't really know what a body is. There's just an idea, a concept around, oh, a body is this. Where a lot of concepts have filled in the blank. A trick within consciousness to deny divine light. So we're looking at this. You believe that fear is real. The desire for an experience of fear. Is there any desire for experience of fear? Show me. To be afraid of ourselves, actually. The whole setup is to fear the light and pretend like it's a spider or the boogeyman. But see that this is all this phobias. It's a phobia that we created, miscreated, not we, consciousness creates this. It's a miscreation in consciousness for an experience. It's like a continual joy ride in an amusement park. Some people love going to amusement parks and catching that ride at the top and screaming their lungs all the way down. So this world amusement park was created. It seems really fun. You go play the games and try to throw the loops around the little little ducks in the pond. But all that time, there's like this feeling, at least experience here is just this feeling that something's missing. There's like anxiousness, unsettled. And that unsettledness is the indication that God is denied, infinite light is denied. You desire to miscreate an experience of fear. Guilt is a stepfather of fear. Guilt. The desire to experience the addiction to guilt births fear. It's helpful to look at any guilt. Guilt is the desire to remain living in a haunted house and just saying, this house is haunted. I don't know why. I feel haunted. We're like haunted. The haunting is the recognition that something's amiss. And what is amiss is the denial of the light, infinite light. Is fear a denial of light? We can ask the infinite light to tell us and hear the answer. Fear is a denial of divinity. It's a decision. Is fear a decision? We can ask the light. Is guilt a decision? And we can hear the divine light tell us, yes. The desired experience. And then hide it in a body, in a world. And now we're looking deeply at the miscreation. The miscreation of fear, unhappiness, and suffering that we'll always feel. It's a perpetual feeling of uneasiness, dis-ease, without the recognition and honoring the light within. Without honoring infinite light. Jesus, is there any desire to miscreate an experience of fear? Willing to see it directly. And fear splinters out in all kinds of hidden ways. What's going to happen tomorrow? When is this awakening going to be over? And Jesus is really teaching us to hear whose voice is saying that. Is the light saying, when am I going to wake up? When am I going to be happy? It's the light saying, when am I going to be happy? The light just is. You believe pain is real. Pain is merely an expression of the denial of divinity and the desire to hold on to personal identity. An identity will separate from the Father. In honesty of God, the divine light that we share, is pain true? Is the light no pain? Divine being. Thus, it must be a piece of, in order for pain to be an experience, it has to be a part of personal identity that's being held onto, that's outpictured. It's an outpicturing. It's an outpicturing of guilt. Jesus, I can hear him saying that. It's an outpicturing. It's a guilty pleasure. How can pain be a guilty pleasure? Because pain and pleasure are the same. They're denials of divinity. Jesus, will you show me any guilty pleasures in pain? It's like almost being with the pain with Jesus until it's seen that there's a pleasure in it, actually. That sounds insane in this world. That's the insanity of pain. And the clues in the subconscious mind are the fact that some people experience pain and some don't. It's variable. And if you look at something like hypnosis, and people who have done self-operations, no pain whatsoever. Pain is an idea arising in the mind of the dreamer. It's an outpicturing of a body. It's a projection. It's an attempting to project outside, something outside. Yet if we look with the light of divine being, is pain separate from us in the light of divine being? Is it possible that that's separate? Thus, you desire an experience of pain. Jesus has said this. Pain is a belief that salvation is in it, will be saved with the pain, that love can be found in pain, through pain. That's how upside down it is. And when we say, I don't want this pain, we have to go deeper and look for the desire for it, because nothing appears in consciousness that's moving without the desire for it. The wish for pain. Jesus, show me the wish. That's why he says, I don't ask me to heal the body. Ask me to heal the conditions or help you see the conditions, which is the desire for the experience. Jesus, show me the beliefs, the desire, the beliefs below it that are generating this pain. And when it's looked at deeply, it's always found. That's in Jesus now. It's always found to be a symptom of the denial of divinity, a form of denial of divinity. Because we can see in the light of divine being, the light of divine being doesn't know what pain is. Show me, Jesus, will you show me any conditions for which pain is acceptable? We accept it. This is just something I have to accept, not as a divine being. It's a signal of dreaming. Mass and Jesus directly, yes. It is a symptom of dreaming. Form of dreaming. That's pretty radical to say. The desire for the experience to deny divine light. Yet this is the promise of looking at every denial with Jesus to see that the light doesn't know what peace, doesn't know what pain is, therefore we don't either. It's an excellent gateway to see where divinity is divine and to see how powerful we are as infinite beings. To see through pain, that pain is unreal and its desired experience. You believe you can be separate from your true identity. Thus, you desire an experience of being separate from your true identity and finding the means to prove that you are, to prove that we're separate. Pain is a way we try to prove separation is real. That we've lost control of the world, actually. We've lost control of perception. So there's a desire in the subconscious, desire to create a world and then a perception to deny divinity, and then bury so deeply in the subconscious mind that we created it and that we want it and that we desire it, and to forget that we created it and feel like we're out of control because we have no control when we're in pain. That's the belief. The belief is there's no control over pain. Pain just something that happens. And this is a very huge part of the illusion. It's the threat that we've put over on our own heads. You are going to be painful. You're going to die a horrible death. And that's a cover over to see that we're dying every moment rather than being the light that we are. We're through consciousness, miscreation through consciousness, the suppression of divinity through pain, the direct experience that there is no pain. You believe you can be separate from your true reality. This is how the ego works, how it's made, this dream within consciousness, to misperceive that there's separation occurring, and the way it's proved is through pleasure and pain, or attempt to prove it. You desire an experience of being separate from your true reality. Jesus, is there any desire in the subconscious mind to have an experience of being separate? I'm willing to see it. And these get subtler and subtler. That's experience here, more and more subtle ways of casting an experience outside of totality, outside of heaven. You believe your origin is open to belief, where you come from. You desire an experience where your origin is open to belief. Actually, that we're a pile of beliefs. That's the belief. The belief is we're all the beliefs that we hold about ourselves. In the light of divine being, is our origin open to belief in the light? Can we find that in the light, that there's an origin issue? The ego is an origin issue because it does not exist. In the light of divine being, does the ego exist? Can it be found? So that goes, so when the origin is open to belief, that means the source, where you come from, where we come from, when that's open to belief, that's cause and effect. Belief is a limitation on infinite love. And if origin is open to belief, then authorship apart from God would be true. We could author ourselves through beliefs. That's authoring ourselves, making a set a little tree of beliefs about ourselves. And this is true, and this is true, and this is true, all to deny divinity. Is there anything else to see, Jesus, on origin open to belief? And trying to be controlling, he's saying, trying to get control over your origin. You're duking it out with God for control over origin, which is duking it out with ourselves being one with the Father. You do not believe there is another way of perceiving. Thus, you desire an experience where you have forgotten there is another way of perceiving, and thus place true perception out of your awareness. Jesus, is there any desire below my level of awareness to place true perception out of my awareness? He's saying that pain is a desire to place true perception out of awareness. Pain is false perception. And that places true perception out of awareness. So pain is a means by which, and pleasure is a means by which we place true perception out of our awareness through choice. You've forgotten there's another way. You have chosen to forget that there's another way. You give only because you believe you're getting something better. They give to get. Is there any energy of giving something to get something? You believe you are out without love. Is there any desire for an experience? You desire an experience of perceiving you are without love, perceiving lack, perceiving limitation. Is there any desire for that in the subconscious mind? It's that energy of wanting something that we go for and distract ourselves from just really realizing that wanting is the desire to deny divinity, deny wholeness. You believe you are without the kingdom of heaven. Thus you desire experience of being without the kingdom of heaven. Is there any desire to experience being without the kingdom of heaven? The desire to feel cast out by the Father. The Father has cast us out. The story of Satan being cast out of heaven. In the light of divine being, does divine being cast anyone out? In the prodigal son story, did the father cast the son out? The father merely welcomes the son home. Does the light of divine being and honesty of God invite us home in our direct experience to see what we are? Thus, you desire an experience of being without the kingdom of heaven, willing to look at any energy around not being being without the kingdom of heaven, casting myself out. After looking for these a while so deeply, they just, no energy carried with them anymore. Jesus will tell, that's the experience here that he tells me. Is that complete? For now, he may ask me to go back and look again. But to see that it's a desired experience of being without the kingdom of heaven, that's deep. That we actually desire that as an experience. You believe the kingdom of heaven is denied you. So many iterations on this, isn't there? Does the divine light know of denying anyone light? Does it have any intention to deny someone the kingdom of heaven? Is that possible in the light of divine being that's here, that we celebrate? You desire an experience where you feel the kingdom of heaven is denied to you. A desired experience to feel the kingdom of heaven is denied. That's worth looking at. Directly in the light of being. You believed you are barred from the kingdom of heaven. Ego would say, oh, those are all the same. If Jesus is giving these in A Course in Miracles, they are not the same. Not to the thought of separation, denial of divinity. You believe you are barred. You believe your brother can bar you from the kingdom of heaven, actually. Is there any energy around that? Thus, you desire an experience of feeling barred from the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, someone's telling me a story about a relationship that two beings had, and was quite angry because they weren't having sexual relations as often as he wanted. And he says, you don't realize you are keeping me from the kingdom of heaven. And that's the whole belief system. That's in the entirety of consciousness. That's something outside of ourselves. We've lost control over having the kingdom of heaven, and then it must be provided through another figure or form. When that's the very denial, is the light. We can see the light's not denying anything. It doesn't deny its existence. It just is. We have to see through how subtle these are, because it's so common that to be tossed out. These thoughts are tossed out. You're preventing me. He's preventing me. She, it, they, the dog, the cat is preventing me. The circumstance is preventing me. The turnaround is seeing the choice to prevent ourselves, barring ourselves from the kingdom of heaven by investing in a personal identity, hanging on to some personal identity. You believe that something happening in form defines you. This is a good one. We've looked at this one before. But it's so fundamental that something appearing in form is defining and limiting. You desire an experience of what seems to be happening in form defining you. Is there any desire for something in form to define me? I'm willing to see it front and center. You believe you can attend to what is not true. The ego. We were talking about that this morning, actually. That's a good reminder about how the ego actually gets involved, is a form of denial and delay, gets involved in trying to solve, pick and choose things to correct, or look for something that's wrong to try to correct it. However many ways this plays within consciousness to delay the correction. And it's just really helpful to ask Jesus. That's the experience here. Ask him, do I need to spend one thought on that? 2 thoughts? Need to spend any time? Is this helpful? Continually ask him what's most helpful. You desire an experience where you attend to what is not true, to the ego, and give all our focus to the dream, all our focus in the dream of separation, all our focus to tending to the body. So much lightness comes. It's so light as the body falls away, needing any attention whatsoever. You believe you have a choice to be separate from God. Thus, you desire an experience of having a choice to have an experience that feels separate from God. It feels like a choice. In the light of divine being, is there a choice to be separate from God? Can't find that choice. Yet we're so sure, like you can see that play in consciousness of being so sure that God is not here, that love's not here, that peace is not here. When we've banned ourselves from the kingdom and barred the doors and built locks and piles of attack thoughts and guns and locked the door to our houses, and we're going, why don't I feel safe? You desire an experience, having a choice to have an experience that feels separate from God. We can never feel safe. It's the desire. It seems like being safety and finding something safe, but it's the desire to experience feeling unsafe. And then say, I will feel safe if I bar my doors, if I lock the door. It's not that Jesus comes and says, don't lock the door. We have an alarm system here. He said, get it fixed. Be ready to, you might need to put the alarm on if that's most helpful. It's to see past the need for an alarm. That the alarm, the only alarm that's ringing is to see what divine nature is right now. That's the only alarm worth listening to. And that any alarm of attack or something being bad going to happen, that's like an immediate signal. Do not pass go directly to divine light and see what's true. Hunt a brother down. God's messenger on this earth, right next door, right here, sitting right there, to come remind it's not true. The light of divine being always here. See then the light of divine being. There's no choice to be separate. It's not possible. In the light and honesty of God, is it possible to be separate from everything? It is possible to pretend to be, to play the pretend game, the dreaming game. When will I wake up from the dream? When you see that you've never been sleeping and it's not possible to sleep. And cease to deny. Cease to invest in the dream. It's just ceasing to invest in the dream. It's like Ramana lies down one day at 16, pretending like he's dead. I wonder what it's like to be dead. Oh, nothing dies. Boom, I'm done. Gets on a train, throws out all his stuff, uses the money his brother gave him, I think, to pay for school. Gets on a train at 16 and goes down and lives in a temple. Just said, no, none of this is true. Lived in temples, lived in caves, didn't care. Insects ate his legs. That may not be given for everyone, but it points to, it can be quick. For some of us, maybe not so quick, until we decide not to invest in that anymore. Then something kicks in at Jesus just takes over the train and starts driving. And that's happiness. We see the investment's not worth it. That's not a bank to invest in, the bank of death. And how subtle that choice is to invest in death and say no to divine nature, no to the Holy Spirit, no to however that appears in consciousness. Saying no to ourselves and seeing we're saying no, okay. That we value what we are. We value everything given by the Father far more than some idea, concept of who we are. It's so valuable to see that. The happiness cannot be conceived in this world. Unknown is not known in this world in a personal identity. The joy, the resonance of being. This is the fulfillment of Jesus's promise. And I thank him for it. I thank my brother for joining every day in this speed up. This will be fast. The light's already here. It's the denials that seem to take time to wash out. They won't survive direct looking in light circles. It's all willingness. Doesn't really matter how it looks. It can look like a light circle. The only thing that's helpful is willingness to see it another way, willingness to see it in the light of the true. Is this true? That's all. It can look all kinds of ways. It can look like an expression session. It can look like writing a letter to your aunt. It's the willingness to see, is this true? Is divine? Is this denial of the light true? And to cease to value saying no to divine nature. As Jesus says in a new covenant, the speed at which you go directly to heaven is the speed at which you give full control of subconscious mind, Christ control. Full control. The ego, that sounds really horrible. When we see past our own delusion, it's the happiest, most powerful experience. Supreme happiness. That's all that's desired. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.